2018, Martin Huker, a professor at the University of Louisville, wrote that roughly 5 million women will face domestic violence every single year. That means one woman every 9 seconds. That means 46 women by the time I'm done speaking. Would you have looked up any of that information on your own? Would you have thought to do the math to figure out exactly how many people are affected? Would you have even cared? Probably not, but that's not your fault. Violence against women in particular has been normalized in our society, and it shows no signs of stopping anytime soon. To address this problem, we have to focus on the ways that we raise our children, the way that media socializes each and every one of us, and the ways that women are impacted, other than just the obvious physical abuse. So we must first start out by looking at the way that we raise our children. Violetta wrote for the Contemporary Issues in Early Childhood in 2019. She said that research shows that boys often dominate play environments, spaces that are associated with femininity and in which girls tend to play, sometimes to seek refuge from male domination in other spaces. This is a lot of words to put words into a real-life scenario. What we have to do is look at what would happen in a standard preschool classroom. Let's say a young boy enters a female-dominated play space. He's a little rambunctious, a little rowdy. He's just going to be asked to leave. That's it. No discipline. Now let's flip the script. Let's say a young girl wanders into the male-dominated play space. The boys are being rowdy and she gets hurt. She is going to be the one who gets in trouble because she should not have entered that area in the first place. The boy will not get any discipline because boys will be boys. And that's how we raise our children. This is something that has been studied throughout many different preschool classrooms by Violetta. However, this also continues into your teenage formative years, especially when people start playing video games. Rose and Beck wrote for the Journal of Interpersonal Violence in 2018. They said that violence against females in video games has become normative. This means if you see someone getting hurt in a video game, you won't give it a second thought. It's just on a screen, right? They continue on to say that playing violent, sexist video games increases masculine belief for males, which in turn reduces empathy for female victims of violence. A lot of the time, whether it is meant to be direct or indirect, there's violence against females in video games, potentially part of the objective of the game. That means that once you finish that part of the quest, you are rewarded, not disciplined, for harming another person. This means there is zero type of stopping, there is zero response to stopping people from harming others. So now that we've discussed the way that we raise our children and what that means for our society, we also have to adjust and look at the way that our media socializes us into thinking that it's okay for violence to exist. Lee and Wong wrote Violence Against Women in 2019. They said that considering the prevalence of domestic violence and how a homicide is often the culmination of ongoing abuse, domestic homicides are definitely not just any other case. Domestic abuse is presented as infrequent, something that could not happen to you or to me. However, that is the furthest thing from the truth. Lee, again in 2019, said that the perpetrator generally gets a backstory tacked onto why they killed the woman, as a way to justify the murder or excuse them, such as financial issues or relationship issues. What this does is it humanizes the perpetrator. It gives that person a voice and denies any voice for the victim. This means We think that their actions are reasonable. We think it was just a random lash out. It wouldn't happen again. What the story tends to omit is that, again, that ongoing abuse that leads up to domestic violence, to the domestic violence that goes too far one time. Nothing can be done to stop it once someone has died. Wood wrote for the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships in 2001. He said that the #1 myth about violence between intimates is that it is rare. We're not invincible. This is something that can happen to any person in this room. So now we have to, again, refocus and look at the ways that women are impacted because of this and what we can do. Mukherjee, Berry, Sati, Raymondville, and Smith-Foss wrote for the Journal of Women's Health in 2011. They said that women suffer from the effects of colonialism, poverty, forced sterilization, forced birth control, trafficking, prostitution, rape, and femicide. This is a long history of abuse. This is something that women are predisposed to before they even know it. Our society puts them there. Wood, again in 2001, said that women who accept the gender narrative that links their self-worth inextricably to having a male partner believe they must sustain romantic relationships, even destructive ones. Psychologically, for a woman, it is better to stay in a potentially deadly relationship than to go be single and completely safe. Ager, Bancroft, Berger, and Stark wrote Conflict and Health in 2018. They said that violence was described in normal and expected terms in all countries around the world, not just the United States. This is a worldwide epidemic that has been plaguing the entire world for centuries. Going back to Wood in 2001, the primary gender narratives casts men as domineering, superior, and aggressive, and casts women as subordinate, forgiving, loyal, and accommodating. Subordinate, forgiving, loyal, accommodating. These are all adjectives that justify violence. They do not describe the victim. But there's no reason to lose hope yet, because there is a solution, but you have to be an active participant. You have to study the way that we raise our children. You have to pay attention to what the media tells you and what they don't tell you. And last, you have to pay attention to the way that women are affected on a daily basis. Landerman, who is a Title IX coordinator, in 2018 wrote that the issues that contribute to sexual violence are fueled by systematic societal issues, including racism, sexism, homophobia, rape culture myths, and the normalization of violence. If we continue to let this happen, it will know no bounds. So what can you do to help? First, you have to donate to shelters in your area. You have to be involved and try to provide them with the resources that they might not have otherwise. Second, you have to vote for public officials who will stand up to violence, who will fight for the people who could not fight for themselves. And last and most importantly, you have to say their names. Remember the people in your life who were victims of domestic violence. Remember the people in your life who were harmed, who were killed. Remember the names of the people you see on the news and do more research so that you can find out other people who weren't on the news. Remember them. Say their names. Don't forget the 46 women who were harmed during my speech.